It's the Arch Advocate Show for Friday. It's the end of the week, folks. Boy, Peter Strzok yesterday, huh? Let's get right into it. Now, you've probably heard all kinds of news so far. We're going to be talking about some things that mainstream media has missed. All right, now, one of the things that our boy, right? Geez, God help me. Oh, Trey Gowdy, right? Trey Gowdy gets in there, and boy, best line ever. I don't give a damn what you appreciate. I love that. We love Trey Gowdy, right? There's a lot of people that gave him grief because, you know, he made a statement before the IG report came out. This is what's important to keep in mind. He made that statement before the IG report came out. What he said as a lawyer, right, as a jurist, as a guy whose job it is, like, we depend on him to be impartial when it comes to the law. Like, we have a law, we have procedure, right? And those things must be adhered to. And if they're not adhered to, we are lost as a people, right? Because the tendency in the law profession is just to become a winner, right? Win at all costs. Well, that doesn't work when you're pursuing justice, right? You winning is not important to the cause of justice. Doing it right, following procedure, doing the job right, that's what's important. And when he came out and he said, look, from everything I can see, everything's fine, right? Because that's what, that's what he was given. What he could see at the time, that's what he had to work with. And what he was saying is like, well, based on the information I have, everything looks above board, right? Then the IG report came out and he changed his tune. Why? Well, because he had new information. That's the way it should be. So I am still a staunch defender and huge fan of Trey Gowdy. Anybody who can get me Trey Gowdy on this show wins 100 doll hairs. Anywho, there's a couple of things that the mainstream media missed, and I want to talk about that because what Trey Gowdy had also said it was very important, and it seems like everybody just missed it. Was he said, look, if we, what we're looking at right now is a shift in priorities when it comes to the law. Now, I'm completely paraphrasing. He didn't actually say these words because I didn't pull it up, but I'm giving you the context of what he was saying. He was saying that in this country, the way that our legal system works is that if you are accused of something, that accusation comes with the presumption of innocence. You are presumed innocent. You have to be found to be guilty, right? You have to prove guilt. And until that burden is met, you are innocent, right? We have to have it that way. We cannot deviate from that because there's nothing but bad things down that road if we deviate from that point. Now, look, I'll give you a perfect example, right? Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, and all of their either former employees or people who were going after them legally turning up dead. By my last count, there's over 47 of them. Or it's 47, right? Could be higher, it just depends on who you talk to. Listen, that's a lot of damn people, right? Now, where have you worked in your life? Have you worked for a company that had 300 employees, 500 employees? How many suicides happened while you worked there? How many people even died, right? In all of my years, like, I've pretty much only worked for three companies in my professional life outside of the Marine Corps, right? I've really only worked for like 3 companies. And in all that time, out of the maybe 500 people total, that worked around me, worked for the same company, I can remember one death, and it was this guy that had a, what's those motorcycles, Buell or Bugatti? I can't remember. He had a really nice motorcycle, and he got too squirrely going down some really nice wavy roads in San Diego, and he ate a truck coming in oncoming traffic, and he died. He was a good kid too. That's it. There was one. You know what I mean? And this organization, the Clintons, damn dude, 47. Like, is nobody going to? You know what I mean? You're just gonna leave that relegated to conspiracy theorists? Why are all these people so depressed that they kill themselves? You know what I mean? Did they kill themselves or did you kill them? Because either way, it doesn't look good for you as an employer, Clintons, right? But back to the presumption of innocence. It's like, look, I made this statement when I was talking with Sam the liberal. I was like, look, man, Hillary Clinton's not been charged with any of those things. So as of right now, I have to assume innocence, right? You're like, whoa, Pete, I mean, obviously. No, it's obvious to me too. It's obvious to me too. I believe that there's something horrible going on there, but I also believe nobody's ever charged those people. Do you understand that? And so the presumption of guilt, the presumption of innocence must be maintained. I would really appreciate it if somebody went in there and attempted to prove guilt, because I believe that there's something there that needs to be discovered. And what Trey Gowdy said yesterday was, look, if we continue down this investigation headed by Peter Strzok went in with the presumption of guilt, there was nothing there for those people to really investigate, right? They just believed it. They presumed that he was guilty, and they've been trying to find guilt, and they've come up with nothing, right? The burden of proof is on them, and they've come up with nothing. So what Trey Gowdy was saying is like, look, this presumption of guilt, this is a deviation away from our way of life, and this can lead to the death of the republic. Do you understand that? When if you want to investigate, look, you want to know my stance on this. Here's where I stand. I am an American, right? My priorities come in this order: God, core, country. In that order, right? If President if President Trump was doing something illegal with the Russians, right? Something that there is no precedent for. If he was doing something that would be damaging to our republic, I want him found out. Because I want anybody found out. Anybody who does anything to damage our republic, I want them found out, prosecuted, and then punished appropriately, right? Don't you? Right? Don't you want the truth? No matter what it looks like when you get there, don't you want the truth? I want the truth. If President Trump did something illegal, I want to know about it, right? But you have to go out and prove guilt. You can't just say, "Oh, I hate this guy, so I'm gonna boil up this little, witch's brew of things that I can just make up, right? And then try to tag it, and put it on him, right? And hope that he was close enough. Like for example, the Fusion GPS thing. It's like, dude, that was all Clintons. That was all Clintons. And now those people, right, the Democrats, they're trying to rub some of that stink on the Trump administration. Say, see, he was colluding with the Russians. It's like, dude, this is really your tactic? You're going to expose yourself. Thank God. Right? But what Trey Gowdy was saying is like, look, this idea of presumption of guilt, if we continue on this path, it will be the death of the republic. You're trying to change our way of life. And this guy, Peter Strzok, who is a piece of garbage, right? That is a garbage human being. We'll get into the idea of demonic, behavior. You're sitting there, you've been subpoenaed to come in and give testimony, and you're sitting there smirking at people. That's a huge sign. You don't do that. You know what I mean? Not even if you truly do think it's funny. You know what I mean? Like that man was placed in one of the most powerful seats in the most powerful police organization on the planet. He's the lead investigator. And he was placed in charge of the two largest investigations in the last 10 years. One of which is the Hillary Clinton scandal. And it is it is painfully obvious, right? There is no questioning. When that guy was given that case, he decided that Hillary Clinton was innocent before he had even conducted a single interview. That much is clear, right? We cannot have that because that can lead to the death of the republic. Well, what? Right? What can lead to the death of the republic? In this country, our government works like this. Our government is the people. It's you and me. It's by the people, for the people, right? We do not have, well, we have kind of slipped into this weird place now where people seem to be content to be governed by governors, right? A state governor, a state senator, a state congressperson, a president, right? Those are government. Those are all, if you have that job, you are a governor of one thing or another. And people seem to have grown content being governed by governors. That's not how our system is supposed to work. Because when you do that, you are then creating a sort of monarchy, if you will, where you have one group of people that have a certain set of laws, and then you have the rest of us, the peasants, the deplorables, right? The hillbillies, right? You have us, and we're going to be under a separate set of rules. You can't have that. That'll be the death of the republic. Do you understand that? And that's what Trey Gowdy is saying. And look, for people that are feeling fear, it's understandable, right? Because we are seeing this. There was things happening yesterday that it just further exposes like how truly far down the wrong road we've gotten, right? And every stone that gets overturned and we look underneath it, it's like, oh crap, we're that far away from living the American dream. Good Lord, we've got a lot of work to do. And that fear of the death of the republic, I think it'll be a little bit less scary if we can break down what it is exactly that we're afraid of. Are we afraid of losing the republic? Are we afraid of destroying the Constitution to such a degree that it would become then invalid and we would have to create a new country? Right? Like Mexico right now is a brand new country. It's not the same country that it was a month ago because they have a new president who is a socialist, right? When Hugo Chavez took over Venezuela became a new country, a different country than what it was before. The United States has been the same country for, since 1776, right? We've been the same the entire time. We've got this document and this is how we're doing things. Mexico just changed that. Venezuela has changed that. China recently changed that. There is no Soviet Union anymore because now that nation no longer exists. The Union of the USSR, Union of the Soviet Socialist Republic. That country doesn't even exist anymore. You can't find it. Can't find it on a map. You can see where it was, but it doesn't exist anymore. Right? There used to be a country called Yugoslavia, and now that that country doesn't exist anymore. Now it's called Croatia and some a whole bunch of other countries. Croatia is a brand new country. Do you understand that? We do not want to start a new country. We don't want to get rid of our Constitution. We don't want the death of the republic. So let's narrow down like what it is that we're truly afraid of. Is it the idea of losing the republic? Or is it what we are afraid of? Is it the fact that we all kind of know deep down the cost of what it's going to take to restore the republic back to right working order? Because I think that's ultimately, like, if you can identify it that way, we're not going to lose the republic. We're not getting rid of the Constitution, right? We're not getting rid of the Bill of Rights. That's never going to happen. There's too many people out there in the world like me and like you, right? You are the most important part of America, right? What you know, what you believe, what you hold dear as far as your freedoms goes, and the fact that we are truly living in the most prosperous, the most blessed nation ever in the history of the earth. You know what I mean? Like, most of us are like that, and we're not going to let the republic die. The problem is that, Thomas Jefferson said, the tree of liberty, from time to time, must be watered once again with the blood of tyrants and patriots. When he said that, it was not a platitude like it is today. And we say that saying, that parable, if you will, we say it nowadays and it gives us chills and it makes us feel good and it kind of reminds us of, whatever, but it's kind of turned into a platitude. And platitude, by the way, is from a French word, plat, and it means flat. It means meaningless. It means it doesn't have anything to it. It has no texture. Platitude. That phrase or parable, or not parable, but proverb, if you will, has kind of turned into a platitude. But when Thomas Jefferson said it, it wasn't a platitude to him. He was saying, like, oh no, here, look, from time to time, like, if you want to remain free, some people are going to have to die. And you're going to be one of them. Right? Now, you're either going to be a tyrant or you're going to be a patriot, but there's going to be some people that are going to have to die if you want to maintain liberty. That's what he was saying, and it was not a platitude. He was just making a very matter-of-fact statement. That's what we're afraid of, because that's what it's going to take to restore the republic. Is it not? Look at what these people are doing. Did you see, like, there was something, look, that interview yesterday of Peter Strzok, it was a long one, all right? And there's not a lot of people who have the leather ass that it would take to sit through, hours and hours of C-SPAN. Like, that's a tough, it's like reading War and Peace. It's like, oh God, this is taking so long. There are some things that you may have missed in there, right? And I want to talk about that again. And this is, remember, like, this podcast, this episode, this is about, kind of running cleanup. You got the meat of it on mainstream news, right? If you watched Fox News, if you watched even CNN, was, their rhetoric was surprisingly to the right of the coverage. And then you're going to get everybody else's, you're going to get Steven Crowder's going to talk about this, probably Stefan Molyneux. I know Owen Benjamin's going to talk about this. Anomaly's going to talk about it. Tim Pool's going to talk about it, right? There's going to be a lot of people giving you breakdown. This is just one of them, right? What's the purpose of having hearings like that? Why bring in Peter Strzok, right? Like, if you're a politician, because that's who those committee members are. They're all politicians. They're all congressmen and women, and I think probably a couple senators here and there. But what's the purpose of that? Like, if you're a politician, even Democrat, Republican, whatever, like, if you're a politician, then your position has to be like, I love America so much, and I want to preserve America so much that I'm going to go into public service, be a politician, so that I can preserve the republic the way that I interpret it, right? Now, Democrats, not so much anymore, but Democrats used to have one way of looking at things, and Republicans had their way of looking at things. And you can make arguments against both of them. Not so much anymore. I mean, the new Democrat Party is, I don't even know what I'm looking at anymore. It's completely unrecognizable. It's just a bizarre thing with crazy people championing the causes of very weird and strange things. But let me get away from that. If you're a politician, your idea has to be to preserve the republic, whoever you are, Democrat or Republican, right? And so the reason to come together and convene and ask a guy from the FBI, Peter Strzok in this case, to ask him a bunch of questions is to get to the truth. Is it not? Is that not your whole purpose? Democrat or Republican? You're not there to be friends with Peter Strzok. You're there to grill his ass until you get to the truth. Right? Like, in that scenario where it's like he's not being prosecuted, he's being questioned. And that means everybody in that room is the prosecutor. Right? There is no defense, there's just prosecution. There's just people asking him questions. There's no room in that setting, right? Because he's not in court. He's not being accused, right? Like he's not on charges, I mean. Right? So everybody in that room has to be objective in getting at the truth. That's not what happened yesterday. It was partisan right down the middle. You saw Democrats that when it was their time to ask Peter Strzok questions, all they did was they sat there and they congratulated him. And they quoted from, previous things that he had said. And said, I really thought it was good when you said, this thing about this thing and that thing. It's like, dude, that's not what you're here for. This guy was put in charge of an investigation, and it is clear that he failed because he had already made up his mind. That's what we're looking at here. And the Democrats, the people on the Democrat side in that room, if you go back and you watch that whole thing, you'll see. Not only did the Democrats that were in that room, that are on that panel, that are in that committee, not only did they congratulate him and give him just, when it was their time to talk, they didn't even peddle him hard, easy questions. They didn't even do that. They didn't even give him easy questions. They just gave him a hand job. They filleted him. Oh, Peter Strzok, I just want to say that, in your testimony, you said this, and this, and well, good job with that. It's like, dude, is there a question in there somewhere? You gonna ask this guy something? Are you gonna ask this guy anything? Not like you can ask him what his middle name is. Anything. Just ask him a question. They didn't do any of that. But on top of that, if you go back and look, you'll see it. It's really bizarre, right? Now keep in mind the setting, right? This is a committee of politicians that has been appointed by Congress to find the truth, whatever it is, right? Because the truth isn't biased. The truth has no bias. The shape of the earth does not depend on what you think of it is. You know what I mean? Like, the truth is what it is, and we all need to pursue that truth, no matter what it does to us when we get there. There's a lot of times when you arrive at the truth, it's gonna F you up, right? The truth, and I'm quoting loosely here from a guy named Jason Upton, but the truth is not the truth if it is not both your advocate and your adversary. You know what I mean? When you encounter the truth, if it does not simultaneously help and heal you and hurt you, then it's not the truth. When you arrive at the truth, it's, it must be your advocate and your adversary. And that's, you have to know that going into it. And so when you allow yourself to, like in the case of Peter Strzok, when you allow yourself to just sit there and say, oh, I'm not going to ask this guy any questions because if we do find the truth, it's going to hurt me politically. It's like, well, then you have no interest in the truth, and therefore you should not be sitting where you're sitting, sir, ma'am. You don't have any interest in the truth. We need you to be, that has to be, you're a politician, you know what I mean? Like, you're a congressman or a senator. Like, your primary interest has to be the truth. And we didn't see that. But what I was, the thing that I was trying to get to was one of the things that we saw in that room. Once again, I apologize for repeating myself, but just try to keep in mind the setting, right? A room full of people appointed by Congress to find the truth. And in the very back of that room, there were 4 or 5 life-size, posters of, 4 or 5 people who have been found guilty of misdeeds since the beginning of the investigation, right? Like Michael Flynn and Trump's old lawyer, who's now sitting in jail, which is a whole nother, like, by the way, that, what's his name, Michael Cohen, that guy sitting in solitary confinement right now, that is another example of, not the death of the republic, but the dying of the republic, and the need for you and I to remember who we are as Americans and look at that and say, no, that's not how our republic is supposed to work. You can't just take this guy and decide that you're going to deny him bail and leave him in solitary confinement, because the charges that you think that you're going to charge him with, like those charges don't merit that, right? Like he's not a flight risk. You know what I mean? Well, that's, I'm sorry for going off on that tangent, but the posters in the back, and what those posters were there for was so that at a certain point during this interrogation of Peter Strzok, the Democrats knew that they were going to use this as some sort of leverage during this conversation. And sure enough, they did. At one point, this one Democrat guy says, look at all these people that, there's over 16 indictments that we've gotten, right, because of this investigation, right? They were gloating about something that has to do with something else. It doesn't have anything to do with Peter Strzok. That's not what that meeting was there for. They weren't there to talk about those people that, pled guilty to certain things. And by the way, we can do a whole nother show on that. You look at those people that the Democrats got, right? With the exception of Michael Cohen, are they in jail? Right? What were the charges? Were they, like the one guy, he got, I can't remember his name, but he got busted for giving like $160,000 to a business that was owned by the Russians, and what they were going to do with it was they were going to pay for Facebook campaigns from Russia, right? It's like, oh, well, I'm not really in favor of doing that, but I don't know that that's illegal. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I think that the charge was like how the money was actually transferred. You know what I mean? Like, you look at what the charges were, and it's like, well, yeah, I guess you got the guy, but is he in jail? Was it, how bad of an offense was it? He's got a felony on his record now. That's it. He had to pay a fine. Like, okay, yeah, good for you, Democrats. You really got Pablo Escobar there. And so they made a show, right? They came in before the proceedings began, before Peter Strzok arrived, and before Trey Gowdy arrived, before anybody arrived. They went up. They put these posters in the back, as if to like trophies. You know what I mean? Like, ha ha ha, we got your guys, Republicans. Why would you do that? Why would you gloat? This isn't a competition, you son of a bitch. Like, we're trying to get to the truth. If Donald J. Trump is guilty of something, we all want to know about it. If the Russians have a Manchurian candidate running our country, we want to know about it worse than you. And the only way to do that is to stick to observing the truth and pursuing the truth. And when you are afraid of the adversarial nature of the truth, then you are no longer pursuing the truth. You're no longer interested in the truth. Because the truth is, it's going to hurt you when you get there and simultaneously heal you. And when those Democrats who are charged with protecting us, right, protecting our rights, that's what their job is. They're not there to give us our rights. They're there to protect the ones that we already have. When those people, they come in immediately gloating, right? They come in showing, like mounted head trophies in the back of the room, and then they come, in the middle of this conversation with Peter Strzok, because that's who the principle of that conversation was about. It was about Peter Strzok, and they tear off into, look it, we're winning. We've got all these people. We got, we charged them. We've indicted them. They pled guilty. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, that's not what we're here for. Why are you gloating? That lends itself to the death of the Republic. Now again, make sure you're, like, if you have a fear of the death, I do not fear the death of the Republic. I fear the watering of the tree of liberty, right? Because more and more, that's coming, right? The more the Democrats encourage violence, right? They go out and they get on TV and they encourage people to become violent. That's, people, the masses, most people are subject to the effects of influence like that, right? They see Maxine Waters. Now, you and I, we look at Maxine Waters and we think, like, well, how is this person even, like, is this lady not the poster child for term limits? Like, how is this person even a person? How is it that this lady has been nominated, 4 or 5 times to be the most corrupt congresswoman of all the Congress people? She's won 5 times. Like, how is that, and I mean, I don't know who rates that. There's an organization that rates that, but it's like, well, how is she still a thing? How is she even still there? Like, you and me, like rational people, like, we look at that and we think, how is this even happening? Why is she still there? Why is there because of her, why is there no term limits for Congress people just yet, like there is term limits for presidents? Why is that? Right? Well, we see that lady down there in the Miami area who literally dresses like a rodeo clown, right? Big red hat, funny nose, big red shoes. Oh, I'm sorry, that's Ronald McDonald. But she dresses like a clown. Her makeup on her face is clown-ish, right? Wears a lot of makeup. You look at that and you think, how are you a government official? You're a cartoon character. How are you? Captain Caveman down there from Austin, Texas. I believe he's from Austin, Texas. How is this happening? Who out there is letting this happen? Right? Well, the thing is that, people are very easily influenced. Right? You want to go down a nightmare of, like, observing the human condition, just read books about advertising and the effects of advertising and how to effectively advertise. And you'll see, like, we're all pretty vulnerable to influence. Like, you can put it like this. If you want to know how dumb the society is, just watch TV. And don't watch the show. Wait for the commercials. Right? There's a lot of people that hate commercials. I do not. I love commercials because when commercials come on, I pay close attention and I find out, like, okay, well, this is where we are as a people. I'll give you a good example. In 1991 or 92, I'm getting my facts from something I knew to be a fact back then. Coca-Cola had a $100 million a year market research budget, right? Market research is not advertising. Market research is what you do before you make your decision on how you're going to advertise, right? $100 million from Coca-Cola to find out where kids were and what they were doing while they were there. $100 million, right? They wanted to find out where the young people were, what they were doing when they were there. $100 million. So you got to think about this. If you spend $100 million on anything, you're going to get what you pay for, right? You are going to purchase the truth, right? That's just Coca-Cola, right? And then there's Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch, there's Red Bull, there's Kraft Foods, you know what I mean? Like all these companies, they all pay hundreds and millions and even billions if you put it all together in one big pile every year to do market research. That's why when you turn on your TV and the commercial comes on and it's got like some super hot lady in yoga pants and a sports bra and she's working out, she's sweating, right? And she puts down her weights and she cracks open a Michelob Ultra and she drinks it and she's like, ah, right? Well, you are being sold that on the idea that beer is a sports drink, right? Beer is not a sports drink. In fact, it's the exact opposite of a sports drink. But the market research told Anheuser-Busch that people are so dumb that we can sell them beer as a sports drink, right? Every time you see a beer commercial or a Coca-Cola commercial, right? Like the Coke commercials, it's like, some 16-year-old kid skateboarding. Yeah, I'm extreme, man. Mountain Dew. You know what I mean? Like that information that they got, they paid a lot of money for that information and they know that it works. So when you see television commercials, when it's somebody trying to sell you a pill so that you can go to sleep, right? Because, not sleeping is a huge problem for a lot of Americans. They come on and they sell you a pill. And they say, hey, look, if you take this pill, you'll probably be able to get a good night's sleep. Also, it's going to make your anus fall out, right? Whoa, wait a minute. What did you just say? The reason why they're able to sell that to so many people is because most people, it works on them. And the market research bears it, right? So when you look at politicians, when you see that there's a rodeo clown in office, in Congress, when you see that there's corrupt, low IQ Maxine Waters in office, when you see that there's Captain Caveman in office, right? When you see that dude from, Michigan or Minnesota, and he talks like this, he talks like, a retarded version of the Swedish Chef, right? You see that guy? He's in office. How? How is this possible? Well, it's because people, Americans, you and me, our brethren, our fellow citizens, don't take a lot of time to stop and think about the things going on around them, right? People are primarily concerned about, their life. I just want to go to work. I want to make a little dough, pay my bills, and then I just want to be left alone. Watch some TV and, die of old age. Right? That's how most people are. Well, the time for that is over. Right? The time for that is over. Those same people that we were just laughing about are the same people who are getting on TV and they're telling their constituents that it's time for violence. And that's why you saw Kino Jimenez, a 30-year-old trained fighter terrorizing a couple of skinny teenagers. That's why. Maxine Waters, that's why. Right? That's why you saw Antifa there in Portland, going up to a group of people that were just there to gather together and pray to their God, being attacked with policeman batons. Thank God that Rufio was there and knocked that kid out, and somebody miraculously had the perfect camera angle on it, so now we can see it, right? Like, this is how we treat Antifa terrorists. This is what we must do when we are attacked. We must fight, right? We must water that tree of liberty, because there are tyrants about, and we need to be patriots. Do not fear, my friends. Do not fear. And if you are, if you are a bit apprehensive, just find out where your fear is. What is it? What is it that you're afraid of exactly? Identify it. Give it a name. Are you afraid of you afraid of our way of life, the republic that we live in? Are you afraid that the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and everything that we've been guaranteed by God, are you afraid that's going to go away? Well, you think 340 million people are going to just forget? Right? You think that even the lefties, you think that there's any possible way that the knowledge isn't somewhere deep, way down deep inside of them? The knowledge that, that it's ironic that they complain about capitalism on their iPhones? You know what I mean? Like you don't think that there's somewhere down deep inside of them that knows? You know what I mean? Like, you think that 340 million Americans are just going to let the Constitution and our way of life go? That's not going to happen. No. What you're probably afraid of is the same thing that most of us are feeling right now. That tension is that, once again, the tree of liberty is calling out, right? And there is a terrible price that has to be paid to keep that liberty alive. And that's what is it fair to say that that's what you're a bit apprehensive about? Right? Can you give it that name? Because it would probably do you some good if you can identify it that way, right? If that's in fact where it is, right? Call it out, give it a name, and join in community and talk with other people. Let them know, like, hey man, I'm really nervous about what's going on in America right now. I'm nervous when I see very high level FBI members who are the head of the two largest investigations in the last 10 years turning on their countrymen, right? Doing things that, could very well possibly be considered treasonous. Maybe not, I think treason's maybe a step too far, but man, it's awful close, if not all the way there, right? Get together with people. Come on to my Telegram. Come on to my Twitter. Join in the conversation. You can reach out to me. There's other people in my Telegram group. We can talk to one another, right? And that way you will know that you're not alone. You must know that you are not alone, and that the majority of Americans are with you. Even the ones that disagree with this thing or that thing, most people are like very big fans of our freedoms, right? Go talk to them. Go talk to them, because there's a lot more to come, people. Particularly between now and November 6th. Is it November 6th? The first week of November, right? Come in and join the conversation. Hit subscribe on this podcast. Stay up to date, right? Come join. If you go on to my Twitter page, that's at Real Pete Dobson 1, at Real Pete Dobson 1. In the little description of me there, underneath in the website thing, there's a link to what's called Telegram. You can join that group, and you will find there are a bunch of people who think just like us, and we can talk to one another in real time. There's even a little phone feature, like you can use the phone for free and talk to one another. It's actually pretty cool. You can do that. If you want to support this show, I need microphones, I need sound proofing. There's a bunch of stuff I need for this show. If you want to help out, you go onto my website, archadvocate.com, arch-advocate.com. You can become a monthly patron, kick down a couple bucks a month if you want. Send a one-time wad of money, on PayPal there. Do whatever. Also, please hit subscribe on whatever platform you listen on. If it's YouTube, hit subscribe. iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Like, I'm syndicated, so if you listen on any of those platforms, hit subscribe, please. That helps out more than I can explain to you. It would take an hour to do it. That's the show for today. Keep your eyes open, folks, and we will talk to you on Monday.